Metallica is one of my favourite bands, and when I started playing guitar as a beginner, all I wanted to do was be able to play every single Metallica song, but that's just too difficult. So I found a workaround. I cherry-picked my favourite riffs from some of their greatest songs, and that helped me become a great rhythm player. So in today's video, I'm going to show you 10 Metallica riffs that helped me kickstart my metal guitar journey, starting with Seek and Destroy. Seek and Destroy is a riff off of their album Kill 'Em All. This album was the epitome of thrash metal. It was Metallica's debut album. Some people say it's their best album. It's one of the riffs that I think helped James learn to play and sing at the same time, so if you want to do that, then that'll be great for you too. When I first heard it, I loved it, and for me, it was simple enough to play as a beginner. Now, it's deceptively simple in the fact that it's actually a bit difficult. It's hard to lock in with a drummer and play 8th notes down-picked in time. That can actually be quite difficult for some people because you have to play along to a drummer, the kicks, the snares, the hi-hats, all that kind of stuff. But once you play it and you're playing it on a loop on repeat, it makes you feel amazing. And for me, I'm pretty sure it helped me build the foundation on being a great rhythm player and focusing on all that kind of stuff going forward. The next song is Jump in the Fire off of the same album as Seek and Destroy, Kill 'Em All. Great song. Initially I was a bit intimidated by it, but again when I broke it down it actually wasn't as difficult as I thought it was. Has some cool chordy scale stuff. It's one of the ones where I initially thought it would be harder than it was, and actually once you nail it, it's not as difficult as you think. Very satisfying to play like Seek and Destroy when you're playing in your room as a kid, as a teenager, stood up wearing a strap, pretending to sing along to Metallica. It's got such a cool little driving rhythm with the drums. Really like that one, and I think it's great for all beginners to learn this one too, to help again build the foundation on being a rhythm player as well. The next one is Creeping Death off their second album, Ride the Lightning. It's not the main riff, you know, it's not the hard riff, it's one of my favourite riffs from that song, and it felt super achievable when I heard it. I was like, oh, I can play that. I can't play the main riff, but I definitely can play that one. It features power chords. With some chugs in between, so you've got to be super articulate, and it mainly taught me how to slide power chords where they're actually higher up, so in the thinner fret areas. It's quite hard to go up to the 12, that area, so it taught me how to do that as well. And again, down picks in between, the chugga chuggas, and I really like the main riff. But I can play that now, but as a beginner that was really, really difficult. And I felt a bit bummed when I tried to learn it because going between the palm mutes and stuff was difficult, but learning that main riff, kind of chorus, bridge riff, was really satisfying, and as a beginner again, it was super fun to just play it over and over and have a go at attempting more Metallica songs, which is ultimately what I wanted to do every single day. The next one is For Whom the Bell Tolls off the album Ride the Lightning. Again, this is one of those songs where it feels deceptively easy, but it actually isn't. The riff I'm showing is the... Now, I say it feels deceptively easy because it's quite a slow song, it's just mostly power chords. It's fun because it's got down-pick chugs, it's got power chords, it's got everything. But yeah, it's one of those riffs that I was just like, oh, I feel so cool playing this. I'm playing it stood up in my bedroom as a kid. I've got my strap. I've got my fake mic stand. I'm pretending to sing along. I've got my fake reverb. What more could you possibly want? I had my sweatbands on at the time. Not these ones, but I had sweatbands on at the time. And I just felt like I could take over the world. next one is Enter Sandman off of the Black album. I'm pretty sure it was the first Metallica song I ever heard, and then I went back to listen to the older albums, and that's when I went to Kill 'Em All and learned some of the easier stuff. But it's a riff that, again, sounds incredibly easy, but in some ways isn't, but it's a good one for beginners. Teaches you the slide technique, and then the palm muting. Such a fun riff to play. It made me feel like I'd made such an achievement. I was a rock star when I could play that slide in the bend. I was like, whoa! I think I was like 17, 18 when I learnt that song, and it's so satisfying when you play it with friends and you're like, yeah, we can all play it at Sandman. Yeah, such a great song. The next song is To Live Is To Die off the album And Justice For All. It's so heavy, yet in some ways it's really, really easy. It's kind of just... And to me, that is heavy as anything. Kind of like Sad But True in the Black album. It doesn't have to be fast to be heavy, it doesn't have to be down-tuned to be heavy. Sometimes just the driving rhythm with the drums and the bass and the guitars. And yeah, when I learned that one, I was like, oh, this is relatively easy, I can learn this. So this is why I've included it on my list. Especially that kind of stuff. Have a go at that one if you really want to feel that you're playing heavy, but you're really just playing chords and scrapes. On to the next one. So the next one is one of my favourite Metallica songs to play ever. It's Fade to Black off of the album Ride the Lightning. I really, really love, the main... Which, to be fair, I only learned recently, but this riff that I'm going to show is similar to Creeping Death, where it's down-picked chugs and some chords. But the biggest difference is this section. When I first heard that, I was like, whoa, that's amazing. I've never heard these kind of riffs before, and they were harmonised and stuff, and I obviously had to spend a bit of time on that because it was alternate picked hertas or 16th notes or gallops or whatever you want to call them. They're not triplets, but people will call them those. Palm muting them as well. If you can play the Creeping Death riff, it feels very familiar, so I'm pretty sure Kirk wrote that one. But it's another one that's just, it's like an easy win. It makes you feel like you're absolute top of the world because you can play Metallica, but it's not the hardest thing in the world. On to the next one. The next one is Leper Messiah from the album Master of Puppets. Great song because it teaches you some cool stab techniques like this. I learnt that one a long time ago and then gave up because I thought it was too hard, and the whole of Master of Puppets album felt really difficult. But recently I learnt it from the Ben Eller video, and he made it feel so much easier, and it was, at that point in my life, a fun song to learn. I always loved it, but I just couldn't get my head around it as a beginner. Playing it now, it feels like it could have been on the Black album, but it's on Master of Puppets. And yeah, I really like that one because it's one of those riffs that just feels so satisfying to play. Again, it's quite simple, but when you're learning it, if you don't kind of get the feel and the rhythm, it will throw you off a little bit, and it's one that you really have to listen out for when you're playing along to it. The next one is The Unforgiven from the Black album. Great song. That one I got really confused by because James kind of sings the melody at the same time, so I could never really hear what he was playing. And there's also another bit behind it, which I think Kirk plays, or he plays, and Kirk plays the other bit. But I always got confused until recently when I learnt it from getting Musician, because they show how to play it properly, and the pull-offs, that kind of stuff. That was quite hard as a beginner. I always thought you had to, which never really felt right as a beginner. That's why for me it was a really good rhythmic one, because it kind of teaches you how to play along in a group, and it taught me something where two riffs are separate, but when you play them together they kind of harmonise with each other. On to the next one. Probably my favourite song by Metallica is Master of Puppets, off of the album Master of Puppets. You might be saying, what are you doing, Jamie? This isn't beginner riff. Well, it's not a beginner riff, but it's not hard, it's just fast. If you play it slowly, then it's not that difficult. It's just that playing it along to the album speed or 1986 Toronto speed, which is like impossible, is hard because you feel like you want to alternate it. But you have to resist every urge and make sure you play it down-picked, or, you know, it doesn't really matter, to be fair. The Metallica police might come and find you though. But the reason why it's on the list again, it's one of those songs that I nailed at the age of 18, which I think I'd only been playing for like 2 years. And I stopped at the bit because I was like, I can't play that. So for me, the chordy, clean stuff was more difficult than playing Master Puppets down-picked all the way through. And I picked it back up again in the last 7 years, and I did another video, and then I've done a cover of it as well. It's my favourite song, like I said, by Metallica. I don't really listen to it very often, but it's one of those songs that just kind of inspires greatness, and it's thrash metal. It's off one of the best Metallica albums, Master of Puppets. It was in Stranger Things, so seeing that made the kid inside me again go, ooh, that's so cool, they featured it in that TV show. It also meant that I could learn to downpick better and palm muting, and there were so many techniques involved in that song. But again, yes, it does feel like an insurmountable mountain to climb. It does feel like Mount Everest, but once you slow it down and play it accurately and then build yourself up, like I do in the course with the tabs and the PDFs and the backing tracks and all that kind of stuff, then it actually feels achievable. So don't be too put off by it. Again, just play it slowly and work your way up, and then you will be a riff master like James in no time. I have made a course. That is the point of this video, essentially, is to advertise that course. It is Metallica Made Easy, bite-sized courses for beginners or intermediate players, but ultimately people who've always, like me when I was a kid, wanting to learn Metallica but didn't really feel like they could. I chose 10 riffs, like I showed in this video, that I break down with tabs, backing tracks, PDFs, lesson videos where I actually show the notes and all that kind of stuff. And just to help make it feel a bit more achievable, because like I said, as a teenager, I struggled with the idea of playing Metallica, and it felt like it was something that I would never be able to do. So I felt like, hey, I'm going to make sure that I cover those songs for people to learn how to play them properly, play them the right way. I've listened to the songs extensively to make sure that I play it the correct way. I've watched the live videos to make sure that I cover it the right way. And like I said, I feature things like tabs, screen recordings, backing tracks that I made that are 50%, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, so you can practice those and download them as well. You get a free lesson included, but there'll be a link in the description below and in the pinned comment. It is courses.jamieslayes.com. Also, if you go to jamieslayes.com, you can buy these sweatbands, which is a set of 2. Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, like, because then, you know, press the thumb and I will go, oh wow, that was great, and I'll make more just like this one. I'm using my Jailbreak custom guitar, which is a replica of James's MX250 from the Black Album era. It's made by Jailbreak, which is an Italian company, and if you message them and tell them that I sent you over, they will give you some discount on ordering your very own. I've got a few people that have just messaged them recently are getting white ones and I think a black one as well to match the one that James had before he got this one. And I love it. I used it in this video because, again, it's Metallica, and why wouldn't you? But it's just pretty much pimped out in the James Hetfield way. It's all black, 2 volumes, just a 3-way, EMG 81 and 60 even, not 85. because that's how they had it as well. And it's got my own custom inlay on the top fret, like my Sweatbands, which is just an S for sleighs. And in some ways it is a J and an S overlapped, but yeah, it's what's on my plectrums as well. Subscribe if you're new to the channel, like the video if you enjoyed it, comment down below, let me know what you thought, and I'll see you guys very soon for another video. Head on over to courses.jamieslays.com to download the free trial, jamieslays.com for the Sweatbands, and I'll see you guys very, very soon. Bye everyone.